Oh, my bangs.
Okay, we're now recording.
Okay. I'd like to call our meeting to order, January 12th, 7:01 p.m. Due to the coronavirus, we're being held by Zoom platform. And please note this meeting is being recorded. If anyone's having technical difficulties, please address Jamie Lawson or Conrad Olamedo. Jamie's number is 336-380-7064. Conrad's 336-214-4515. Okay. For tonight's public comments, the commission for this commission meeting, please indicate that you wish to do so by using the raise hand feature in the Zoom, or if by phone, press *9, and our meeting host will notify me that you wish to speak. Anyone who speaks must give their name and address for the record. I'd like to confirm that all commission members and staff members on the agenda are present and can hear me. So that's Jamie, you said you would do the roll call?
Yes, I'll be happy to.
Okay.
Christina Meinking? Here. Lori Bryant?
Here.
Edith Smith is absent. Brian Pennington?
Here.
Justin Schneider had contacted us and he was requesting an excused absence. Mr. Vandermaas-Spieler?
Here.
Ms. Whitlock?
Here.
And Mr. James Eulis is not present yet.
Okay.
I will also say for the recording that Conrad Almedo is also present for the meeting as well.
Okay. Has everyone been able to review the minutes from November 10th and December 8th? Okay. Did everyone see Molly had a request for some changes for the November 10th minutes? Are y'all good with her changes? Okay. Do we have any comments from the November 10th meeting minutes? No? We're all good? Okay. Can I get a motion to approve the minutes from November 10th?
So moved.
So moved with the changes. This is Molly.
Okay.
Seconded by Brian.
And a second?
Second by Brian.
Awesome. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, I approve. All right, so they pass. Hey, there's Jim. No mic yet.
Sorry, I had trouble logging on.
That's okay. We're glad you're here.
Thank you.
Did you, Jim, I just started. Did you get to go through the minutes for November 10th and December 8th?
I did.
Okay.
There was one thing, I don't know if I said a lot. There we go. I'm trying to remember. There was one where I don't know, asked about the diameter or something, but I don't remember asking anything that, I mean, I might have, I don't remember. That's the problem. So.
It's okay. Which, do you remember which, was it November or December?
It was our last December meeting. It was about the pool. I think it said, I wish I printed them out and had them with me. I did not think to do that. I'm unprepared. I'm sorry. Bear with me. I think I had said something about the diameter, or it's one in there. It said like the diameter of, yeah. It was very technical. I will say that. And I don't remember saying it. So I don't know if it got recorded wrong or maybe it didn't.
Okay.
Let me see if I can pull them up on my screen. Okay, hold on a second. Hold on. Let's see. Lord mercy.
There's on page, there's no page numbers on mine, but the bottom of the second page where we talk about that case with the pool, there was it says, Mr. Jim Eulis stated the setbacks appear to be 5 feet in the back.
Yeah, I don't remember saying that, honestly. Or could I? Maybe I did. I'm sorry. I'm telling you, I'm too young for all this to not remember.
It's okay. I don't remember stuff all the time.
Well, we can, if the commission prefers, we can go back to listen and clarify that, and if it's, and confirm the statement and who it was, if you want to hold off on approving the minutes.
I mean, if it's not going to be, I don't want to hold up. I mean, if, I don't think it's a big deal, is it? Or I don't want to hold up everybody's because I came late, so.
Well,
It's okay.
if you're comfortable with the minutes as is, then I would just ask for, have the chair
Yeah.
ask for a motion then.
Okay, I'm fine with them.
Okay. Are we still talking about November 10th? Or we're on December 8th, right? Okay.
December 8th.
Okay. Can I get a motion to approve December 8th minutes?
So
So
moved.
moved.
What just happened?
Sorry, I forgot. I'm still used to Zoom.
Did somebody make a motion to approve the December 8th minutes and I missed it?
I think so. Was it me or who was it? We both answered at the same time.
It was me and you at the same time.
Okay,
So
okay, yeah. So you got that, and I'll second it.
there we go.
All approved, say aye.
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 We're good. Weren't we supposed to go through a list and I was supposed to call names or something? Isn't that what Justin said? Anyway, let's keep going. We'll be fine.
We can do it by roll call if you want, Lori. That's up to you.
Okay. I'll get with the roll call after we do the application.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Conrad's not back. So I guess we'll move on to the applications, Jamie.
I could talk briefly about the survey, and then our consultant Heather Slane is on the call too. So
Okay.
so the
Great.
historic, and I'm sure Heather can help fill me into where I'm missing the gaps here, but the historic grant was approved by the city manager, and the state requested a proposal, and the proposal was granted to Heather Slane and her as the consultant. So I will, I believe the time frame for work is January to August, but I will let Heather go ahead and introduce herself and discuss the scope of work.
Thank you. And I have my colleague who is working with me has not been promoted. So she is lingering out there. It's Sherry Skidronsky.
Be happy to do that right now.
So
Okay, Sherry, you have been promoted, so should be able to speak as well.
There she is. Well, that's her husband, but I promise she's in there.
Hello.
So mostly, we just wanted to sort of introduce ourselves to you all. Normally, we would have a public meeting at the beginning of one of these surveys or come to one of your committee meetings. So some of it is just for you to see our faces and know who we are. I am Heather. I'm based in Durham, so I'm just down the road. Sherry, I'll let her introduce herself, but she is a little bit further afield. And I'll let Sherry introduce herself, and then I'll go just quickly over sort of what the survey project is.
Sure. So I'm Sherry Skidronsky, and Heather and I have been working together on projects like this for a few years now. I used to live in Hillsborough, and I was the director at Preservation Chapel Hill for a little bit. And a few years ago, I moved back to the Midwest. So when Heather says further afield, she means Michigan. But I still travel down a few times a year, and we do projects together. So looking forward to getting started on this one.
So like Sherry said, we've done a couple of projects similar to this in Oxford and Greensboro, in Hillsborough. So we're sort of familiar with the general scope of this. Your project is relatively narrow in terms of geography because it's really just located around the West Davis Street Fountain Place Historic District. So it's a pretty small part of West Burlington. And the survey is really focused on updating the files and records and photos for the buildings in the historic district, and then looking at things around the historic district for potential expansion of the National Register district, not the local district. That's all up to you all. And anything that may be individually eligible for the National Register. So, and then really updating the sort of history and context in terms of architecture from 1940 through 1970-ish. So the main questions, sort of things that I have for you all to think about as we get started, we're still waiting on contracts and things from the state and things like that, but is whether you all had a way in place to notify the residents in that area that this project was happening. I don't know if there's been any notification, or if you have a plan to do mailings or newspaper articles or emails or anything. And then I would suggest, however that happens, that we include some sort of COVID protocol in there, because we will be on the sidewalks taking photos and taking notes and things. And we're happy to talk to people from a distance with masks on. We just don't want to, it's a different era than it was a year ago at this time. So we need to do things a little differently than we used to do it. So making sure that people know they can talk to us, but they just can't get real close to us. And then the other things have more to do with the project itself. We're looking at other buildings in that area that may be National Register eligible. So if you have buildings in that study area, and I can read for you what the study area is. It's basically bound by South Church, West Webb, and Tarleton, with the sort of triangular wedge in West Burlington. If there are buildings or little areas or anything in there that you think that we should take a look at, just let me know, because we're adding new things to the survey too, not just updating what's already in the district. So that's important. If you know of any residents who have lived in Burlington or in that area for a long time, it's often hard to find sort of published historic information about what was happening in the 40s, 50s, and 60s. So doing some phone interviews with people that have lived there during that period can be really helpful in terms of giving us a perspective of how that was happening. And then Sherry's in the process. One of the first things that we do is pull together a bibliography of resources from the May Library and Elon and other sources. I'm not sure if we're going to be able to get to those resources. So if any of you have books, articles, files, things related to the history of Burlington, especially from the 20th century, that you'd be willing to share with us, that'd be great. Or if you have, if you have an in with a librarian or an archivist or someone that we can call in a favor with, that'd be great, because we're a little bit sort of flying blind in terms of trying to access the things that are normally not able to be checked out of libraries. So
Heather, this is Molly. I have a lot of those resources I'd be happy to loan you hard copies of. There's also a local historian named Walter Boyd,
okay.
and he's done a ton of research, and he has a lot of old photographs that he just has in his private collection, and also in a collection that was bequeathed to him when another local historian passed away, who's written a lot of the books that I'm happy to. So I think he would probably be the best resource to start with. But as far as reaching out to you, are you going to provide your contact information to Jamie, or how do you want us to reach you?
I can do that. Conrad has it. I'm happy to, I can also just put my email in the chat and my phone number, and you all can get it that way too.
Okay.
So, and yeah, I mean, I'm right down the road in Durham, and we'll be doing a little bit of one of the first phases that we'll do. It's just a windshield survey where we sort of drive around and identify things that we want to survey when we get to that point. So I can certainly do a sort of porch pickup of resources too,
Okay.
and keep them.
I live in the historic district, so.
Perfect. So let me put that in the chat unless you have other questions or thoughts. Sherry, did I miss anything?
No, I think that's what we need. We need to know who to find.
Yeah.
That's perfect.
So those are the main things. Know who to find, and then know how to let people know that we're coming. So you all have any questions for us?
I don't have any.
Okay.
So as you look for individual structures that might be eligible for entrance onto the historic register, what will you be looking for? What are the criteria?
So the main thing I think we're going to be looking for, having not actually started this yet, is places where the historic district, the National Register district, can be expanded. In terms of individual listings, the things that we're looking for have to have high material integrity, so a lot of original exterior materials. And then they have to have some area of significance. And the National Register has 4 areas. The first one is sort of significance for events or broad patterns in history. And that's usually what the historic districts tend to be listed for. The second one is association with a significant person. The third one is architecture. And then the fourth is archaeology, which I can't imagine listing things for archaeology is really complicated and requires a different skill set than what we have. So we're really looking at things that either an important event happened there, or most likely the things that we're going to find are going to be significant for their architecture. So I don't know if you have, unique examples of modernist architecture or some really intact high style examples of architecture. Those are the things that we would probably be looking for listing individually.
Great, thank you. I'll ask another very different question. You asked about what kind of plans might be in place for notification of residents. We've talked about this in previous discussions in the commission. I didn't know if Jamie or Conrad had anything to add to that, if there's any further plan in place that the commission might want to be informed about.
Well, sorry to hop in at a late moment here. Thanks for Heather for talking about the upcoming event here for the survey. So what I've been doing is coordinating with our communications office to just align some communication efforts on our end. So we'll be using social media, and there's some other programs that don't come to my mind right now, or I don't know if it's Nextdoor, our website. I'm not sure if we want, and I'm thinking out loud here, so forgive me here, but I'm not sure if we want to do actual property note or what's it called, like actual property mailers to the folks in the district. I'm not sure if that's the strategy we want to go, but at the moment we're looking at social media and Facebook posts and things like that, Twitter.
Yeah, and
What about the newsletter that goes out with the water bills?
We can employ that. I mean, so I'd be relying on our communications office, to be honest. And do we get a newsletter with our bills?
We do. It's not
Okay.
every month, but it's like every
Okay.
other month. And
Okay.
it's not limited.
Like a quarter thing.
Okay.
They may do it every quarter.
I'll make a note of that to inquire and see if we can, add that to the opportunities. I'm open to hear suggestions from you guys also. Let's see.
Yeah, and I don't think we need to decide tonight. I just wanted to sort of put a bug in your ear to start thinking about it. We've had the town of Enfield put them in the water bill and everyone knew we were coming. So some of it just depends on what the people in your community use for communication. If there's a neighborhood group that has a listserv or something that we could put something on. Some communities do mailers, some do postcards, some just rely on, we've actually had some communities in Greensboro, they made yard signs that they put out at sort of key intersections in the study area that said that there's a survey in progress. So, it's sort of up to you all what you think the residents would respond to best.
And if anyone after the meeting has ideas or thoughts, you can certainly email them to me and I'll be able to share them with Heather and Sherry.
Jamie, Preservation Burlington has a listserv.
Mm-hmm.
I'd just say here what I've said in previous meetings. I think it's important that residents be informed and that we use multiple avenues to get in touch with them. I think it's important that they know the work that's being undertaken and the reasons for which it's being undertaken as people are sort of appearing in their neighborhoods and looking around and taking photos and so forth.
And I'm not sure if y'all were able to know that. So we're planning to take, Heather, you're going to also be coming to our work session with City Council. So we're spreading the word to our council as well about the project.
Yep. And we have a little bit of time. I'd have to look at the schedule, but it's going to be, I think March probably is when the field work will start. So we have, 6 weeks before we'll be on the ground, and we'll see if Sherry will be on the ground by then, not, or if I'll be out there by myself. That'll sort of depend on what happens in the next 6 weeks, but someone will be out there. So we have some time. I don't have anything else for you all unless you all have some questions. And I put my email and phone number in the chat if y'all need to reach me or have ideas or contacts that you want to share with us.
Thanks so much.
You're welcome.
Thanks for joining.
Sure.
If it's okay, Lori, I'm going to go ahead and promote the first applicant.
Okay.
Okay. Okay, Mr. and Mrs. Robinson, can you hear us?
Yes.
Great. Okay. Lori, I'll turn it back over to you.
Okay. Thank you so much for joining us. I need to ask the board members, are there any conflicts with this application for any of you? No,
None.
you're all good. Okay. All right. All right, Jamie, back to you. We're good.
All right. So this is agenda item number 1. It is the certificate of appropriateness, HD 20-56 for 1004 West Davis Street. We received a request from Mr. Patrick Robinson for roof repair consisting of replacing shingles on the second floor roof and replacing gaskets and flashings that is currently allowing water intrusion located at the property It is paid 1266696, located in the medium density residential zoning district and the historic overlay district. The staff report includes the findings of fact that we found relevant to this case, as well as our recommendation. The attachments have been included, which is the application, the supporting materials, and the site map. And the applicant is on the call and able to answer any questions. I'll first ask the applicant to basically state the oath that the information that you're providing to the best is the truth to the best of your ability.
It is.
Okay. So if the commission is in favor of it, I'll let the applicant now just describe their application briefly. Go right ahead.
So we're just looking for approval to replace, the roof is in need of shingles being replaced, and the point of question was an area of the eaves around the front of the house where it's this old brown mod bit, which is like a rolled shingle material that was installed in the 90s. And it's going to be replaced with like a white membrane. The majority of our roof, the flat roof on our house, is south facing, and we're trying to get it changed to a white material to kind of offset some cooling issues during the summer. You purchase that by the roll, so it becomes cost prohibitive to kind of piecemeal and just match what was already there. So that would really be the only change. Everything else will be, you won't even notice it was done, other than just looking like newer shingles.
Okay. Does anyone have any questions for the Robinsons?
I do. Can you just explain where, or go through the pictures as far as where the roof would be replaced?
So if you're looking at the house, it's the, yeah.
There's the front of the house. Is that okay?
Right. And so that's from the street. You really, because of the angle, you can't really see it except for the far right, the sunroom. That part is set back enough. That's the only place that you could really see. And that's looking down at that roof, which has kind of become a problem area.
I think I have a picture of where you were pointing. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So where are the shingles? So it says the shingles will be replaced with like shingles.
Correct, the second floor.
So I guess I'm just confused about where are the shingles going and where is the flat roof material going?
The shingles are going where the shingles are. And then there's
like on the very top of the
correct
line that you can see here. Okay, so you're replacing your whole roof everywhere.
Correct.
Okay. And the shingles are going to be replaced with shingles, and you're proposing to replace the flat material with different flat material that's white.
Correct.
Gotcha. So, Jamie, is the issue the reason that it's not an administrative approval that it's a white material?
The issue was, in our opinion, since there was a change in the material, but also a change in the visual appearance, where currently you would see where it's highlighted with arrow brown, it will become a white roof material. So we felt that that was something that was not minor and required the commission's approval.
Okay, thanks for clarifying.
You're welcome. while there's a moment of silence, I can also state that we did not receive any calls or emails on this application.
Okay.
So I take it then that the sort of narrow brown tan border, pretty much right where the blue arrow is pointing on the bottom picture that's on the shared screen there, that would become white?
Correct.
Okay.
And that same material goes around the front part and the portico, but it's really not visible from the street.
Yeah, so I have no concerns about this application.
Okay.
And the only thing that I was going to say is that the guidelines do distinguish, and say that white or very light shingles are not acceptable. These aren't shingles that he's proposing. And if you look at the opening paragraphs in the roof section, it talks about the reason that white shingles are disfavored is because it says white or very light colored roofs lose some of their visual definition and become less attractive because the shingle joints stand out more as they become discolored over the years. So that doesn't seem to be a concern here where you're just talking about a membrane on a limited flat portion of a roof, where the guideline appears to be targeting the issue of white shingles as an architectural feature. So I see that as a distinguishing factor.
Yeah, I'm having a hard time imagining that it would affect the way the house looks.
Agreed. So I don't have a problem with it. I mean, as long as the shingles that are going on the main slope of the roof are going to be the same color and the same, we're just doing like for like up there.
That's the plan.
Are you going to change to an architectural shingle, or I can't tell what it is now.
The contractor is just going to match what is there as far as the appearance. I'm not sure what the.
I don't have any other questions.
Okay. Does anyone else have any more questions, or are we done with the discussion? Okay. And then we had no one to call in or email, right, Jamie, about this application?
That's right.
Okay. All right. Well, I'm going to read over the findings of fact. So for this application, the applicant has stated that gray shingles will be replaced with the same matching shingles for the second floor. Because of the deterioration on the first floor flat roofs, they're going to replace it with a white EPDM, which shouldn't be visible to the street except for in a couple of small places. The findings of fact that apply to this application is C5-1 through C5-8. Does anyone else have any other findings they would like to add? Okay. Can I get a motion then to approve the findings of fact?
This is Molly, so moved.
Okay. And can I get a
Second.
second?
Russ,
Okay. I'm gonna roll call for all in favor. All in favor to approve the findings of fact. Christina?
Aye.
Molly?
Aye.
Brian?
Aye.
Me? Aye. Russ?
aye.
Jim?
Aye.
Okay. So we've approved the findings of fact. Now, and there's no more further discussion about the findings of fact. Okay, so the findings of fact are approved. Next, I'd like to make a motion to approve the application for I'm sorry, I just went on pause. I need a motion for approval, denial, or approve with conditions for this application.
This is Molly. I'll approve the application as submitted.
Okay,
Motion to approve.
Christina.
Second, Brian.
who's second? Christina? Okay. All right. Now, all in favor, say aye. Christina?
Aye.
Molly?
Aye.
Brian?
Aye.
Me? Aye. Russ?
Aye.
Jim?
Aye.
Okay, so all in favor has said aye. So we are now approving this application. And we're good, right?
Yep, I'll just let the applicant know you can reach out to me. I should have your certificate of appropriateness as early as tomorrow before you start construction. Just make sure that you have a yellow card and that is visible.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thanks for
Thank
your work
you.
on the house.
Okay.
Brian, did you say something? I'm sorry.
I just thanked the Robinsons for the work they're doing to the house.
Oh, okay.
I love that house.
That was worth to repeat.
I love it.
All right, so we can just move on. I'll go ahead and promote the next applicant, which is Mr. and Mrs. Klein, who have been in front of you recently. And here they are.
Hello.
Hi, good evening.
Good evening.
Hi.
Hi.
We're so glad you're with us.
Again.
Yes. Okay. Where is my paper? Oh, it's right here in front of me. Okay. So Jamie, you're gonna introduce them and
Sure, I'll be happy to. So the next item is agenda item number 2. This is a certificate of appropriateness HD 20-58 for 1031 West Davis Street. It is a request by Mr. and Mrs. Klein for the installation of a front yard fence on a corner lot located at the subject property, which is also PID 125081 in the medium density residential zoning district in the historic overlay district. The staff report includes the findings of facts appropriate for this case and staff's recommendation of approval, as well as the other supporting materials and documents. Mr. and Mrs. Klein are on the call as well. And I will just ask them to affirm that the testimony that they're providing is the truth to the best of their ability.
It is.
Mr. and Mrs. Klein, will you just briefly describe for the commission your proposal, and I can pull up the survey to that might be helpful.
So our proposal actually is to install metal fencing. It's really the side and the backyard. This is the second part after the pool approval. So we needed to enclose the pool, but also wanted to enclose a section of the yard for the dogs to be able to get out and run around. Our plan would be for it to be 54, but would look for perhaps maybe possibly up to 60 inches because there are some availability issues with certain heights right now that just with production. The plan would be for it to match other fences and that have been in historic districts. Especially went to Durham to look around to see what was done there, and this was the style and the pattern that seemed to be predominant. So.
Okay. Does anyone have any questions for the applicant?
So it's not clear to me in the view that I can see where, I assume the dark line is the outline of that's the fence line, where the pool is. Yeah, so that's the fence line, right, Jamie?
Correct.
The pool was approved to be behind the house.
Is that the?
We didn't draw it in here. No, that's the patio. So it is behind the house.
It's
Jamie,
I mean, I
can you
can
cover us?
sort of draw it in this location.
No,
Actually farther back than that towards the pergola. The edge of the pool would be parallel.
That's right, I
to the edge of the
remember.
porch.
Yeah.
it's like right in front of that pergola area.
Yeah, between the porch and the pergola, sitting to the left.
Oh, I'm sorry, in this area here.
Yes,
That's correct,
yes.
right there.
Mhm.
So my only question is, because of our guidelines, it says in B11-5 that fences in the front or front side yard should be constructed of wood picket, brick, stone, or cast iron. And then I know that this fencing, when I went through and looked, it said it's going to be made of aluminum.
That's correct. This really the back side yard, not the front side yard. That's the intent of this. That's into the midsection of the house and back. Ideally, this would not obstruct the view of the house itself, so not really in the front yard.
Well, I'm thinking, I didn't know if that mattered as far as the material that's going to be used. I just
Right,
wanted
and
bring
we right, and we looked into, through the fence company, the aluminum fencing, and it is the very same fencing that is used 2 houses down from us that was put up about 1.5 years ago. The exact same material and same company.
And same heights.
Sorry, which property was that?
That's
The
10-0,
Robinson's
10-04.
Oh, okay.
The one that was just.
But that's a backyard fence, right?
No,
So
it's the same location.
It's the same side and backyard. If you look at their house from the right side, where it attaches to the house on the right side is in the mid structure back, which is what we tried to mirror on ours since that had been approved there.
Okay. And I'm trying to put my finger on it, but I think the distinguish, because the guidelines talk about 3 feet in the front yard and 4 feet along a side street. And this application's for 4 feet, is that right?
So we had read that in a side backyard that you could have it up to 7 feet. We can't have a 3-foot fence because that's not pool approved.
And what we did, if you can see in the picture, we shaded in the footprint, the initial footprint of our home.
The original structure.
And the where we're proposing to start the fence on that side yard is about halfway
Halfway back
of the house. It doesn't obstruct any of the house, and it's definitely not in front is not even in the front side yard. It is midway from the footprint of the house, the initial footprint of the house, well behind any bushes that we have on the street.
And I'm not finding it, but in the past, my recollection is that what is considered the front yard is from the midpoint of the house forward.
Correct.
Right. So ours is the midpoint of the initial structure of the house. You know, we added on to the back of the house. So where we shaded in is the initial footprint of the house, and it is halfway back. We intentionally did put it halfway back.
Okay, and I don't know if your drawing is just not to scale, but it looks like closer to like 1/3 back to me.
So what we were looking at is if you see the grade in area of the house, that's the original historic structure.
Yeah, I gotcha.
The area that's not shaded in is a white extension. That's not the original structure.
Right, I gotcha. I'm talking about of the shaded area. It looks like it's forward of the 50% mark.
It was right at the half. Like I may have shaded a little bit more of the house just in shading, but it was halfway back from the original structure.
That was the intent, is to put it that way, Mark.
But it is very, very far, as you can see, 68 feet from the front street. The problem that we would run into if we tried to put it further back is it would go through the middle of the porch, that side porch, which doesn't make any sense.
Mm-hmm.
And we would love to have it shorter, but you can't for pool approval.
And the pool approval has to be the height all the way around?
It does. It has to be 4 feet all the way around. And these fences that we've chosen are a little bit higher than 4 feet because we like the spears. We felt like the spears were more historic looking. Now, if we went with 4 feet, there are no spear options. It would just be a plain black metal fence, which to us looked more like
more modern
of a schoolyard.
Mm-hmm.
That top picture that you're looking at, is a picture of a yard that is in Burlington that we liked, and those were the pillars that we wanted to mirror. And that is the fence that we like, but that fence is 60 inches tall. That top fence is. The bottom fence is 54 inches tall, and we weren't sure which one would get approval for. We like the top one better, but we'd be willing to do the 54-inch one with those pillars, if that's what we need to do.
So I'm sorry, you're proposing the brick pillars as well?
Yes, that's in there as well, yes.
Okay. And the brick would be similar to the brick that's on your house, or what kind of brick?
Correct. We contacted our builder, and he'd be able to get the brick from the same source.
Okay. And then how tall would the pillars be?
So approximately 6 inches taller than the fence, although they could be even with the fence as well.
So you're asking for approval for a 60-inch fence? That's your preference, or what?
We like the way the 60-inch looks better, but between the 54 and the 60-inch, depending on the availability of the fence. And those pillars would be 18 feet apart, like every
18 feet across, just across the Davis Street side of the fence.
The brick pillars only go across Davis Street?
Mm-hmm.
Correct.
So while there's a moment of silence, again, I'll just state for the record, we did not receive any calls or emails or notifications from any property owners in the area.
Okay.
I don't have any other questions. I mean, I think the guidelines are, as Lori pointed out, kind of restrictive as to what is in the front yard. We're a lot more flexible if it's in the backyard. So I don't have a problem with a 60-inch or a 54-inch because, like you said, it can go up to 7 feet. It just says it must not extend beyond the midpoint of the building. So as long as you're at the midpoint, going back, I don't have a problem with it. I think if it's in the front yard, we have to go down to a lower fence height. It doesn't give us any leeway there.
Okay.
Jamie, has staff confirmed that it's from the midpoint of the building?
I'm going to pull up the screen again, and you're referring to this point, to this point here, correct?
Well, I mean, I understand the distinction that they're making. They're going from the midpoint of the historic portion of the structure. I think we have some discretion there. I just don't think we have any discretion to go past the midpoint of the historic structure at the very least.
Yeah, I would agree. And I guess that you can add that in. It's up to the commission on how you want to proceed, but you can add that in as a condition.
I also want to recognize the client's sentiment that if the fence did not align or came in front of the existing front porch, that would also, is that the issue? That would also look strange.
Absolutely. We have a camellia right at that midpoint where we have that line drawn. And so we're going to preserve that camellia that we love so much. So, you know, there might be a couple inch variance as to whether it has to go on the left side or the right side, depending on what the builder thinks would, or the fence fella thinks would do less damage to that camellia. But it will be halfway from the original footprint of the house.
Sorry, that was broken up for me. I didn't catch that.
So right where we have the fence drawn, there is a camellia that is there that we obviously we will preserve. And so the where the fence will be might be 3 inches different based on where the fence builder thinks would create less having to trim of branches. So we're not positive it will be in the right or in the front or behind that camellia, but it will be still should not be more than halfway back of the footprint of the original house.
That's fine with me. I mean, I think you can put it anywhere you want as long as it's not beyond the midpoint of the house. If you need to move it around for landscaping.
Okay. Do we have any more comments about this application or questions?
I don't have any objection to it, assuming that it's meeting those guidelines.
Okay. All right. So I will go over the findings of fact as soon as I find my paper. Okay. So with this applicant, they want to install fencing around the back part of the house for the pool that they're going to add. The findings of fact are B6-1. I'd like to add B6-2 and then B11-1, B11-5, B11-6, B11-7, and B11-10. Does anyone else have any other guides?
I would also add B11-11.
Okay.
And I would just note that I believe the applicants are requesting permission to do either a 54 or a 60-inch fence.
Okay.
The application says 54.
It was up to 60, right?
Correct.
Okay.
With the pillars being with the pillars being 6 inches greater than that, is that correct?
That's correct.
All right. And all right. And okay, so I want to make a motion to approve the findings of fact with the note, with the addition of adding B6-2 and B11-11.
I would also add that I'm not sure if it says anything about the brick in the application.
It does. It
It
says
does.
that we use the same brick that we've had approved.
Same color, same style approved.
Yeah.
Okay.
They're going to be in 18-foot intervals and 20 inches wide.
Gotcha. My computer's just a little
6
slow.
inches taller than the fence. So whichever way they go with the height, it'll be 6 inches taller. So, okay. All right. So I'm asking for a motion to approve these findings of fact.
So moved, Jim.
Okay. And a second.
Molly, second.
Okay. Okay. Now, do we have any more? Do we need any more discussion on the findings of fact? No, no one. Okay. So now I would like to call for a motion to approve, deny, or approve with condition of the application. Do we need to add in there about to make sure that it does fall halfway from the historic structure of the house on the application?
Make a motion to approve the application with the option for them to extend the metal portion of the fence up to 60 inches. And on the condition that the fence not extend beyond the midpoint of the original historic structure.
Okay. Can I get a second?
Russ, second.
Brian seconded. Or Russ? Who did that? Brian or Russ?
That was Russ.
Russ.
Russ. Okay. Second. Okay. All right. I'm going to roll call for yay or nays to approve with the conditions that Molly stated. Christina?
Aye.
Molly?
Aye.
Okay. Brian?
Aye.
Russ?
Aye.
Jim?
Aye.
Me? Aye. Okay. So any opposed? No? Okay. Then by consent, you are approved for your application to install your fencing.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Similar to the other application, I'll work on your certificate of appropriateness, and I'll email it to you. And we'll have the yellow card available. You'll have to apply for a fence permit as well.
Thank you very much.
You are welcome.
Thank you.
Y'all have a good night.
Bye.
I can just continue on with the other items on the agenda. Included in the packet, there were 2 administrative approvals, one of which was discussed at the last HPC meeting, and there was a determination by the commission to approve the application administratively for chimney screens and foundation repointing. That was HD 20-55. And then the second one was an administrative approval for HD 20-57 for repair and replacement of roof shingles of the same style, materials, color, and replacing gaskets and flashing. If there's any questions on those, I'll be happy to answer them. Okay, and then moving on to the other business items, we included in your packet the draft of the, if you recall at some of the previous discussions, there is a recommendation for text changes to the historic design standards to reflect compliance with Chapter 160D. So essentially, you have a draft of the existing design review manual with strikeouts everywhere that is referred to in terms of the guidelines. We've replaced that with historic design standards. There were a couple very minor typos that we found, but this was not intended to be at all a substantive change. This is more of a technical revision to be consistent with Chapter 160D. So we're asking for your consideration of this modification. And if you make a motion in favor of it or recommendation, then we will move this to City Council for their review and approval as well. So I think we caught all of them, but if you found any spots where we missed it, please let us know. This document, admittedly, we were not able to find the original Word document, so it has been a PDF converted into a Word document with a find and replace. So the formatting and other modifications may not be great in your draft, but we'll be working on that as well.
I think I saw a spot where it says that the commission meets at 7:30 on the second Tuesday of every month. So doesn't have to do with standards or guidelines, but just a point of correction.
It's on page I2.
Okay.
So there is a footnote on there. The number 1, it says amended on 4/13/93 from, oh, never mind. We changed it. Sorry. I was reading it 7:30 to 7, but no.
Mhm.
Okay. Do y'all want to meet at 7:30 instead, or? I'm just kidding.
So I didn't see a list of the changes.
I didn't see that either.
I can provide you with a track change document. Essentially, it's
Oh, okay. I thought this was supposed to be a track change, and I had flipped through it and I couldn't find any changes.
yeah. I realized when I opened up the packet today that I must have sent you the accepted document for whatever reason. So
Okay.
my apologies for that. But I can definitely provide you guys with a track change version, so you can have that, and feel free to flip through it if there's things that we haven't caught. Certainly be open to make sure that we catch everything.
But
So we'll just look at that and then table that till the next meeting, the vote.
Yeah, I agree, Molly.
Yeah, I don't think there's any rush for this, Conrad. Okay, yep.
No, we're good.
So I'll get that to you for the next meeting.
Okay. Okay. Is there anything else we need to talk about?
I just had a question about the house on Front Street. I don't remember the exact number. That had it started to install a front porch, and then it was denied. And I think Conrad was going to look into it because they haven't. It still looks the same way. They haven't undone
Yeah,
it.
you haven't. I drive past it constantly going to my place, and it's still up, and it actually looks really, really bad, like it's falling apart.
And this happened right before you guys started, and just the background is that they had just done like a day of work, and David Beal went out and told them that it wasn't approved, and then they, did a bunch more work, knowing that they didn't have approval, and then the COA was denied.
So this can transition into the next other business that I have to bring up to the HPC to y'all. So on that note, off of my memory, I've brought it up to our code enforcement and our building officials, and I'll have to follow up again. I can't remember where we left off on that, and I'll update on that. But on that note, what I'd like to do is to introduce to you what we're planning to do with code enforcement. So I've received some comments from, so this would be an example of how we roll into this. To preamble, I'd like next month to bring our Chief Code Enforcement Officer, Chris Marland, into the discussion, so that y'all can kind of get from his experience as a code enforcement officer, chief, and enforcing. Because when we start to talk about enforcement action in the historic district, there are some I don't know if the right word is ramifications, but we can end up with an instance where houses can become demolished if they're not satisfying minimum housing standards. So you all might know that there are some properties with vacant, the property owners aren't living there, they're vacant, they might be in disrepair. There are special considerations when it comes to repairing a home in the historic district. And once we start to have code enforcement action with minimum housing standards, we have a notice of violation timelines and timeframes that we have to be considering. So we're not jumping into it with both feet in the water just yet. And I wanted to introduce it to you guys as a narrative of where we're going with being a little more proactive in the historic district. So to accommodate that, what we've done is we've transitioned enforcement from planning. So just administratively, it was the planning function. So our other planners, David Beal and Daniel Schaffner, were in charge of enforcement. That's now transitioned to code enforcement. And the tradition has been to be reactionary. So we were complaint driven enforcement. So when we get a phone call about a tree being chopped down, or construction like on Front Street that was not approved and is still there, we would then respond. But now when we start to transition to more of a proactive approach, we're entering into some sensitive realms. So I wanted to introduce that to you all and let you know that I like to bring Chief Marlin to the discussion to answer questions and hear what your thoughts are on the matter as well. And to caveat that with the design guidelines, so the design standards, when we start to enforce those standards, we're enforcing standards that need to be updated. So we're going to have to be sensitive to that also. And that is on my back burner as well as a project for us to look into our design standards being updated. But right now we'll see about, we're working on that. So that's what I wanted to bring up to the commission for your all's consideration.
Well, I think everybody's on board with updating the guidelines, and my understanding was that was why the survey, the grant had to be, so going back years, when we tried to initiate the process of updating the guidelines, they said we had to have a new survey, and that's how we led into the whole grant process. So I think that was kind of the main impetus of trying to get that grant, to get the survey updated. We have had a couple instances in recent years where it overlapped into code enforcement and threatened to demolish a historic structure. For those of you who are on the commission at the time of the Peel Street House, that's the most recent example. But certainly we understand that we need to work together and figure out how those two sets of rules will impact each other. I think the proactive approach is a good thing. So I think ultimately it'll be a good thing for the historic district. We'll just have some bumps along the way. But I don't see the minimum housing piece of it so much with an example like this Front Street house. That's a house that was bought by a contractor to fix up and flip or whatever. It's not at risk of being demolished. He's just not in compliance. So, and I would think that what he was trying to do, aside from requiring a COA, would also require a permit. Mm-hmm. So I just think he's out of compliance with everything. Mm-hmm. And I don't know if that change in the way things are operating between planning and enforcement, I just don't know the rules well enough to know what are the next steps to get this person to fix. Yeah, to take those doors off the side of the porch really is all he needs to do. So we'll have to rely on you all to educate us on that, because we don't understand that process.
I know I have some information on that, Molly. I don't have it on the top of my head. So let me do some digging around and I'll get back to you on that to inquire with our inspection department and our code officers.
Okay. Has there been any communication with the person? They didn't appeal it, I assume. We haven't heard anything about.
Not that I'm aware of now.
Okay. Well, I look forward to hearing from the person that you're bringing to the meeting. The only other piece of new business I have that I wanted to let you all know of, and it is somewhat connected to this discussion, is that Preservation Burlington is starting a curb appeal matching grant program where we will match funds for homeowners in the historic district to make exterior repairs. So if they need new windows or they have a rotten porch or something like that, we are starting a grant this year to, we would match up to 50% up to a certain amount to do those types of restoration projects. So we're going to be announcing that, but would certainly, if you all, recognize people that might be interested in that grant, that's another resource.
That's great, Molly. Where's the funding coming from?
It's just the money that we've raised through our architectural salvage operation and our historic tour of homes. It's just all fundraised money.
All right, that's awesome.
We don't have any corporate sponsorships or anything like that, unfortunately.
That's wonderful.
Okay, well, I guess if nobody else has anything they want to say, I guess we can call this meeting adjourned at 8:17.
Good job, Lori.
Sounds good. Good job.
Bye,
Thanks, everybody. Have a good evening.
y'all.
Stay safe.
Thank you.